All right. For the last part, I'd like to start by introducing the concept of JSON. So JSON is something that we use when we are allowing different components of our systems, maybe different algorithms, to work with one another. So this is just one of the options, one of the popular options that we have right now. So whatever our data, if we want that data to be processed to another by another component of your system, then uh, they are normally transmitted in the form of JSON files or JSON structure. Okay, JSON means JavaScript Object Notation. It is a lightweight and self-describing format for storing and transporting data, and it is often used when data is sent from a server to a web page. So this is usually when we have web applications for our robotic system, like our robot control software. If it's web-based, and that means there's a data transmission or there's a web-based data transmission involved. Okay, and one of the most common options right now is the JSON. It has the following rules. Data is in name and value pairs. So like what you see here, this is the name, and then these are the values. Okay, so we have the name and the value. Okay, it's like the parameter and the value. Also known as the key value pairs. So this could be the key, and this is the value. So they are separated by a colon. Okay. Data is separated by commas. So if you have multiple values, just like um, mhm, we don't have here. We have this one, right? For the detail detail field, we have these multiple values. Okay, and the values are actually key value pairs also. So we have key value pairs within a key value pair. So this is more commonly termed as dictionary in Python programming. Um, and just observe, each of them are separated, or these are separated by commas. Um, Same thing here. This one has a comma, 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 and so on. Uh, Curly braces hold objects together. If you have multiple values for a certain field or a certain key, then it must be banded together by um what they call curly braces. Okay. While square brackets hold arrays. If you have arrays just like this one, then we use square brackets instead. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to JSON. And then we have the API for a while. Right. Now we also have the term API or the Application Programming Interface, which is a set of clearly defined methods of communication among software components to specify how they should interact. So please know that in a robotic system, we normally have different components. For example, we have an algorithm or a software component for our wheels, or we also have one for our manipulation arm or the robot arm, or maybe we also have one for our AI decision for decision making. Um, we have one for our communication and data acquisition, and so on. So normally we have different software components which are basically composed of at least one algorithm. Um, Now, in order for them to communicate more effectively, especially if these components were written in different languages or they are stored in different devices, different parts. I mean, when we say devices, I'm referring to the different microcontrollers and microprocessors. Okay, so if they are not together in the same device, and especially if they are not written in the same language, then that's the best, or the best way to connect them together is through APIs. Okay, the arm can communicate with the wheels or with the sensors or with the communication interface through an API. Okay, in the same way with how our Gcash works, the Gcash feature or any online payment feature for our online shopping apps like Lazada and what's the other one? Shopee or even Temu or Alibaba and so on. Right? So API, just remember API connects different software components together. Right? And good thing, one of the or the most common type of API right now is written in the form of JSON. Okay, so if you know JSON, then you can understand better API, right? Or in the vice versa. One of the best ways to learn about APIs is by starting with JSON. Okay? And unfortunately, JSON is better understood if you know at least a glimpse of OOP and data structures and algorithms. Right? So I hope you have seen how these concepts connect. Um, all right. Now, as you can see, API in today, right? Google provides free APIs, a lot of free APIs like the ones for Google Maps or for other features of Google like Google Sheets, Google Forms, right? So we can make use of APIs to access those applications, okay? So that they can be connected with ours, right? For example, if your robot requires some mapping features, then you can use the Google Map API, which is for free, as long as you um, go through the necessary process of acquiring the API key for that. Okay. Note that some APIs, although they are available, they can only be used when you have been authorized by the developer or the owner of that application. Okay. So, for example, Gcash, if you want to integrate a Gcash feature in your own app, then you have to um, engage with the contract with them with Gcash people. Right? So that's all about API. Just remember they connect different software components together, right? And again, it's better to learn JSON first before you can learn about APIs, right? And with that, we can now assemble our control software. We can now have our interface for controlling the different parts of our system. So when we say robot control software, it is a set of instructions that tells robot how to perform tasks. So through this interface, like what you see here in the screen, you can put inputs, okay? You can input your commands. You can configure the robot, how it should behave. You can set some threshold values. You can um, uh, provide some instructions, predefined instructions, and so on. Or you can also reprogram your robot through your robot control software. Okay, so it's used to manage the movements and functions of a robot and is essential for preventing errors. And that's the most basic thing that we can do. Aside from monitoring or configuring the robot, we can also use it to manually control our robot manually but remotely. So, if you want to take over the robot or you want to override its existing operations, for example, it's currently moving and you want it to have an emergency stop, then you can make use of the robot control software. Or sometimes we can use the robot control software to activate something in its components. Okay, activate or deactivate. Um, and sometimes there are features of our robotic systems that ask for confirmation from the user. Like for example, should the robot continue in this mission since there's something that um, prevents it from doing it? Okay, so if the user says yes through the robot control software, then that robot will do what it takes to just to accomplish its mission. So probably to the point that it violates already the third law, which is okay as long as you don't disobey the second and the first laws. Right? So robot control software, we control and at the same time we can monitor and configure our robotic system. Okay. And of course, it is much better for our robot control software, or it's much easier to integrate our software components and interface them through our robot control software if we make use of an ROS or robot operating system. So it's an open source framework that provides tools, libraries, and packages for writing robot software. So for beginners, it could be the easiest way to get started with a robotic system. But um, I think ROSs are mostly um, proprietary, or maybe they are, if they are free, they are open source. They are okay, it's open source. Some ROS are proprietary, but mostly are open source. If they are open source, they are limited to a few features only, and they are not that flexible. Okay, that could be one of the disadvantages, and also it might be limited to a certain language and some other software development tools. Okay, so sometimes you have to install something, okay, just to make your ROS work, right? Either way, whether you are starting from scratch through libraries, Arduino and Python or Raspberry Pi libraries, or you want to have a somewhat ready-made framework like one using an ROS, then it depends on your application, on purpose, right? It depends on your constraints. It depends on what you can do within the given time, given budget, given skill set, given resources, right? So there are many ways to build a robot, actually, and these are just some of the things that could help you get started with it. Right? So I think this is the last part of our discussion, right? And thank you very much for being with us, for listening. I hope you have learned something, and you can now be confident to get started with building your own robotic system. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.